Welcome to our webinar today. Our focus is going to be on how to market and sell your Stress Mastery workshop and program. As all businesses rise and fall on the success of one's marketing and sales efforts, it is really important to focus on the core components of marketing. As marketing is the driving force behind every business, it is essential to be familiar with some of the best practices on sales and marketing. So let's get started. We're going to talk about best practices and how to market a stress mastery workshop. Now, the principles, of course, apply to any business and any type of program that you might be wanting to offer. We are going to basically talk about how it's important to have the fundamentals. If you're a business, and like all small businesses, many people really forget one of the main things you need to be doing that will promote your workshops and your other businesses and services is to be top of mind in your area. And I think this is the hardest thing for people to grasp, that branding, if you will, and becoming really well known requires time and effort. And so while we're going to talk about how to do marketing for a program, also want you to think about your own business. I've worked with literally thousands of companies and organizations through my work in advertising and marketing. And I've learned one thing: most small businesses don't really have a good sense for what they need to do in order to keep the brand and awareness of who they are out there in the community that they want to reach. So I recommend establishing a unique brand identity. I went through some of the LinkedIn profiles and all of the communication that I've received from many of the associates. We're now up to 35. And I noticed that some of you have a pretty strong brand. When you look at the email, for example, you'll see at the very bottom, you'll see the name, the company, the websites, and all the links. That's very important. It's just part of building a brand. Keeping the name out there and pushing your brand in all communications helps you as you begin to build a marketing plan for a webinar or a workshop, seminar, or whatever. Today, the goal is to really set the bar high for providing a basis for a good stress mastery program. The thing that most people don't do if they don't have a solid marketing and business plan is they don't have a sense of what their goals are. I think many of you do, so I'm not going to beat this up too much, but a lot of people don't have clear goals. So what are our goals? To conduct stress mastery workshops for companies, to do stress mastery coaching for individuals. Do you want to sell the SMQ to external stress management trainers, HR departments and internal trainers, the public at large? Do you want to conduct organizational stress assessments? Do you want to become a stress mastery consultant? Do you want to do public speaking on stress mastery and stress management? And others that you may want to have, including how do you build it into a wellness program, such as what Lisa's put together, and how do you integrate it into that? So,
James, sorry, can I ask a quick question? Do you want us to hold our questions till the end, or are you okay with free flow of some questions? Or
it's up to you. What do you think works best? Let's have a conversation. Feel free.
It's your show.
Well, it's our show. I'm here today to kind of present things that may be of value, so please feel free to.
Well, if I can make a suggestion, then my suggestion, and I'm going to contradict myself in just a second, but my suggestion would be to have people feed into the chat periodically. Then what I do as a facilitator is I go to the chat, or I'll bring up questions in the chat if anyone has them, just so it doesn't throw off your flow. But that being said, I do have one quick question. Okay. Do you have a designated organizational stress assessment per se that's different than the SMQ?
No, however, because of my background in research and evaluation, we are creating one right now that could be broader. But you can use the SMQ as a basis, and I think that's a really good question. For example, if you have an organization that you want to do a stress assessment with, we can add questions to the SMQ or customize it to that organization. So, for example, you may have a company that they want to look at their stress, but they may have some departmental questions. They may have some specific needs and interests that they have. Well, we would have to consult on that and have a separate arrangement, but we can actually take that and build a more robust organizational stress assessment that might include some or all of the SMQ. So the answer to the question is we're here to help on that area, and it is something that is definitely going to be in my plan for the next year.
So just as a follow-up question then, thank you for that. I have a really large government department in the States that I'm putting a proposal in for, and it just occurred to me that in addition to the SMQs from an individual employee level, it might be worthwhile, if you could send me just a short little paragraph or something that speaks to organizational stress assessment, and then we'll just do it, just in time. So if they're interested in it, we can collaborate on that. But I'd like to have like a paragraph description of some sort that would speak to what they would get in an organizational stress assessment.
Okay, and I think that's great. And this is something that many of you might run into where you're going to have the situation. I probably have done 25 to 30 evaluations and organizational assessments. So coming up with the right questions and putting it into a format that works well is something that I'm very comfortable with. I also have a document that I'll send to you, and I can share with all of you, that does describe this a little bit more than what we're talking about now. So let's move on to the next questions. To be effective, you got to have clear goals. Now, I'd like to ask the question, how many of you have very clear, specific goals that can be measured, that have objectives related to it, that are realistic, low and high goals, have a timeline, under your control, written and posted, and made public? And these are the best practices for making goals worthwhile. Some of us do goals and we sort of like make our goals up, and we might write down a goal that we put on the refrigerator. But I've discovered in working with people, especially in sales and marketing, that if we don't have these goals like this, the chances of them being fulfilled are reduced. So if we're going to do a stress mastery workshop, I'm going to challenge each one of you today to come up with a concept that in the next 3 months, you'll be doing a stress mastery workshop in your location. So to do that, you got to have a concept in mind. And I'm happy to talk about your ideas interactively now, or we can wait till later what you might want to do. So I'm going to go back to what we did in March. This is a program we did in Tucson and Phoenix, and it was very successful. We created this thing called How to Master Workplace Stress, transforming 1 half-day workshop. We did it in Phoenix and Tucson. So I'd like to challenge you all to think about what you want to do in the next 3 months. And I'm thinking January would be a great time for some of you to say, let's do a stress mastery workshop in my area. One thing we know is that once you get committed, and I do this all the time, and I know, Lisa, you do this. Once you commit to doing something, whether it's a webinar, or seminar, or you want to do coaching, once you make that commitment, the whole world changes. When you don't make a commitment, things tend to just wallow around and things don't happen. So make the commitment, agree to do a How to Master Stress workshop, call it what you want. By the end of January 2017, give yourself 3 to 4 months to put it together, because it does take time. And one thing you will learn is if you're planning to do multiple workshops over the course of the next few years, it gets easier. But the first 1 or 2, you need to really think it through. Give yourself time, because if you don't give yourself time, you're going to run into problems with communicating with the people you need to communicate with, getting the schedules right, and getting people to attend. Schedule multiple workshops. Make your goal 2 or 3 in the next year. Set the date, time, and place. So all of this is setting a goal that will help you move in the direction you want to move to. For example, I will conduct 3 half-day How to Master Stress workshops for no less than 25 individuals in 3-month intervals as follows. This is an example. You want on May 21st, September 21st, and January 21st. Make that, think about that, and see if you can make that a goal. Because if you don't do this, well, we're not going to get any workshops. You won't do the workshops you want to do. Another one will be, I will conduct a half-day workshop on how to master stress that will be offered to the companies and organizations in my city, state, or country by January 21st for up to 30 people at a price of $95 US at a local hotel or conference center. That defines where you're going.
James, James, is Lisa here. Can I just ask another quick question that comes to me? And of course, as a program developer, all these questions are coming up now. Could you see, for example, reflecting back on the workshop you talked about in Arizona, the half-day one, could you see that being modified for an online delivery?
I do, and that's a very good point. It's been in the back of my mind, and I've had several associates who have experience in this area wanting to do that. Mm-hmm. So I'm open to collaborating with any of you if you want to try to put something together to do an online workshop.
Right. And then, just as another side note for yourself and probably as much for the others too, is that, there's two terms of reference. You can call it an open program or a closed program. So I guess the closed program would be one that obviously is just specific to a company and they contract you for their employees only. Then the open membership or open enrollment would be, you can market it to several companies and they could direct or, sign up or have some of their employees sign up so you'd have representation. The only caveat to that is when you're talking about stress-related issues, sometimes, it might be sensitive, so a company may want to keep it closed, whatever. It's just, I don't know, I'll just...
You're absolutely right. It's a good point to bring up. When you say open, I might say a community-wide program, and so let's get into this. You can do internal company workshops. Now, if that's your goal, not to do an open community-wide one where any company can send their people, that's different than an internal one. To do an internal company workshop, however, you've got to have an avenue to the right people to be able to get in there, so that your marketing is going to be dictated by that determination. So to go internal, you do have to have a relationship established with a company. And the internal workshops that I've conducted over the years has always been because I went out of my way to find a way to communicate with companies that I knew and literally sold them on the idea of doing a stress mastery workshop. The external public workshops, and I say public, you can do a community-wide, this is open to everybody in the universe. I don't really recommend it unless you have a lot of support from the community to do that. Very hard to get people to come in. But I think the seminars and lunch and learns, the lunch and learns, that gets you into a company and may make it, give you the avenue to sell a bigger workshop. But a lot of times there are companies, they just want to do lunch and learns and then they don't want to talk to you anymore because, they feel they've done their job. So a lot of when we talk about marketing and sales, it's up to you to kind of sell them on the idea that they need to do more. How many of you are doing stress mastery coaching? I know many of you are. And are you doing it for the public or are you doing it for companies? We have some associates who have linked up with companies and they provide coaching to their employees, kind of like an EAP, depending upon, again, where you're at and what companies you know and how you work with them. Do you want to sell your SMQ to internal trainers? We have many companies right now that every year they buy 100, 250 SMQs from me, and I don't. We just sell it to them because they have trainers that know how to do a stress management program, and they need the tool or want the tool to use in their programs. Well, we can talk about how to reach those internal trainers. That's another whole strategy. But today we're going to talk about how to reach, do a marketing of a workshop. Do you want to sell the SMQ to other external trainers, kind of like the DISC or the Myers-Briggs? There are external trainers who are eager to use this, the SMQ and the materials in their program. And do you want to train the trainer programs and take the whole stress mastery concept into a company and provide training? My associates down in Florida, Stop at Nothing, that's what they do. Right now, the last couple of years, Stress Master has been brought into Banamex, which is owned by Citicorp. In a major way, they've integrated the SMQ into their total program. Peak Performance, I highly recommend that you look at Stop at Nothing's website and what they do, because they're professionals. They're really high-level people. The individuals they work with are mid-level to high-level executives. But they're doing train-to-trainer programs of their trainees at Banamex, and they're backing away. But we still sell to Banamex whenever they do a program. Last week, 2 weeks ago, they did 30 people. So it depends upon where you want to go. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, so thank you. So when you say train the trainer, so for example, would they be training HR people within the company to then deliver their own internal, stress mastery programs, or?
Exactly. They would train they would train internal trainers. In
Okay.
each department, there's our training departments. So another company we work with is called Speedway. They're a large convenience store chain in the East Coast. Well, they have a group of trainers that I think they've got 6 or 7 trainers. They've all been using the SMQ over the past 7-8 years. So I never trained them directly.
Okay.
But you can get a situation where a company needs to have, they want to do it and they need some training to be able to do it. So that's something you might want to come back to me and say, well, how do we put this together? And then we can work together on that.
Yeah, because I can almost, at the level I'm at with my business delivery and program development, I could almost see myself probably even eventually getting more into the trainer, to be honest, because that's that's the wheelhouse I work in, is training other trainers.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm glad to hear that. We can talk the logistics around that. Just one other question while I have the mic on. Are you okay? Are you planning to send out these PowerPoints just so we don't have to take?
Absolutely.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so again, you got to define what you're doing, and many of you have already done this, but I wouldn't try to do everything. I think it's really hard to kind of multitask. I'm a big fan of focus. I know that when I got off focus, I don't do well. And I've done that I've had 4 or 5 businesses, and I can tell you from my personal experience, pick 1 or 2 things and be dedicated to that until somebody says, go do something else that's even better, or you find something else better to do. So determine what you want to offer: 2-hour seminar, half-day workshops, full-day workshops, hour-and-a-half weekly sessions over 6 to 8 weeks. Create your own model workshop and how you want to do it. So it's up to you. I'm recommending in this webinar that you make a decision to do a workshop in the next 3 months. It's up to you to do that or not, but here's some ideas for you. Again, back to the market plan. This is now the basis. Without a marketing plan, very little gets done. And we can't bootstrap it or shoot from the hips. You really need to have it nailed down. It's a written document that's action-oriented. It doesn't have to be complicated. I'm going to show you one in a minute. Shows all activities to reach your objectives, defines your price points, details your target markets, has budget allocations and timelines, shows how you will get new customers. So I can't say enough about how important to have a marketing plan is. Most people do marketing activities, networking, but they don't have a plan. So just going out to a networking activity is just one element of a marketing plan, but there's a lot more to it. This is one, I lost my title, but that's all right. This is an example of what I put together to sell and market the Stress Mastery program we did in March of this year. So on the direct marketing side, we had an email marketing component. I needed to get a list of people, and this is where we get into the nitty gritty. I have a Stress Master list. I have 3,250 LinkedIn members that I have connected with over the years. From that, I've called out about 600 people that are either in the corporate world or individuals that are stress related. Again, my business is trying to work with you to become successful. And I came up with that model because I felt like I couldn't do it all. And I didn't want to be running around the world doing stress management workshops every year. So I said, okay, let's find people who want to do it and help them do it. I work with an organization called WellCoA AZ, which is the Wellness Council of Arizona. They reach over 200,000 people in the state of Arizona. They have a big mailing list. Cheyenne was one of the people that I worked with, and she was a presenter, and she has a list. She works with United Healthcare. and other lists. So you need to get an email marketing list together. If you don't have an email marketing list, you don't know how to communicate. So this is like the nuts and bolts of what needs to be done. Are you going to do mail? If you do, we didn't do much mail, so we can skip over that. But if you're going to do mail, and I think at this point in time, I think we need to be doing a more direct mail, a little bit, maybe postcards, because people are getting pretty saturated on the email world. And, you know, I mean, you and I all get hundreds of emails every day, and I'm clicking all the time to get rid of them. So direct marketing, this is what we started with. The website. I had to build a specific website just for that workshop. Why? Because when I send out a flyer that's got a link in it, like a PDF, it's got to go somewhere. And if you want people to pay their money, then you've got to have a website that's got a PayPal connection to it that allows them to easily sign up for 1, 2, 3, or 4 people. And when we would get companies in Phoenix and Tucson to do this, I created a tiered system where if one person came in, it was this price, 2 people, this price, or more. And if they got a lot of people, then they would call me up and I'd send them an invoice. So if you don't have something to make it easy to buy, then they may drift away and you might not get them.
James, can I just throw in a suggestion there as well? It just came to me related to that.
Sure.
For some because I know a number of ambassadors in our group, for example, are still, working on updating their websites and what have you. So a workaround for that would be to either on your WordPress site, or even better still, I just subscribed to Amazon S3. And so it gives you an opportunity to upload things, and it gives you a URL. So what I'm saying here is that if you had a PDF created, a one-page sales page or whatever of Stress Master Workshop or whatever you're promoting, you can have a PayPal link embedded in that, and you can do it, or Nikki, my graphic designer, can do it. And you can just upload it to Amazon S3, and it's like cents a month to do that, if that. And then you can send out that URL. So what I'm saying is, if you didn't have your website fully done, there's workarounds that, you could do there.
Well, it's a very good point. And there's many ways to do it. We work, actually my website's in HTML. Even though my son, who's my graphic designer and web designer, does WordPress, here I want to have a WordPress and I can't even get him to do that. He's so busy. But the point is this: if you do an HTML and you know HTML, it's very easy to upload a PDF and link it. If you don't know it, what you're talking about is a great way to go. So you might want to share more about that. So on the marketing side and in the marketing plan, and this is really all of this is about right now, is a summary plan. It's not a detailed plan, but it's a summary plan. And this guided me through the whole process. I'm not a big user of Facebook, and I know you are, Lisa, and I think I should be doing more Facebook. But we didn't do a whole lot of Facebook, but we did a little bit. And any other social media, you want to keep the workshop and the brand out there constantly. So those are things we can talk about. Third, you got to get the public to, because we were doing a community-wide, anybody could come to the workshop. And I had some individuals who came who were not part of a company. You want to do press releases and events calendar. I'll ask the question rhetorically. Do you do press releases? You should be doing press releases for anything that happens of importance. Get that word out there. So we created press releases and we send them to the Phoenix Business Journal. Now every city has, at least in the United States, has a business journal. So Tucson has it, Phoenix has it, Flagstaff. We submitted to the business journals and we got in their events calendar. You may not get a lot, but it doesn't hurt if people do become aware of it. The Tucson Desert Leaf is another magazine or newspaper. Business Tucson, Tucson Guide. All of these are things local. So in your community, you want to get a list of the magazines and the newspapers that you can go to and contact them, get their emails and get their websites, and begin to communicate. So once you've got the design, you're going to do a workshop. You got to put it into work. There we are. Those comes in there. TV. We didn't do a lot of TV, but I have in the past, and I don't mean a lot, but TV stations, if you're really wanting to get the word out there, are looking for stories. Now you got to have a hook to be pitched to the. They want something that's going to be interesting to the readers. So if you are doing a public workshop, or if stress is a big issue in the community right now, or you're in that month where that maybe there's a stress. I think it's November. I'm not sure. Is the where they have, or maybe it's April. It's like this is Stress Awareness Month. You can go to the newspapers and become kind of their advocate what you do. They like topics that are hot and what you're all about. Or you can have them come to your event and cover your event as kind of like an interview. Internet links. There's many internet links that we went to: Tucson Happenings, the Phoenix Valley Guide, Arizona Central, even Craigslist as a place for meetings than conferences. So you can actually get free listing on each of these internet links. You want to communicate. So how are you going to communicate? A marketing plan is really a communication plan. You've got collateral materials such as flyers, postcards, email blasts. All of those have to be put together, and you can use a graphic designer. Lisa's got one. We can help you out. That puts it in place, because you don't want to be creating these too much on the fly. Chances are you will. I've done that. But you want to get your materials ready, because you want to get them in the hands of people who are going to be able to see them. It used to be in the days when we would market workshops, we would send out these massive flyers to 10,000 people. We don't do that anymore. But you can do the top 25 employers or top 50. Who are they? Well, how do you find them? Well, LinkedIn is a great way to go. And I'll show you in a minute how I do it. The Book of Lists, which is put out by, I think, the Phoenix Business Journal, has every major company in it by category. You can go there, you can see who the head person is. Chambers of Commerce, Convention and Visitors Bureau. All of these are ways in which to identify who you're going to reach and what you're going to send to them and how you're going to get to them. So as you can see, a plan gets you to the point where you really have everything in place. So next, and finally, you want to schedule. This is a very brief schedule, but it started with this. Send out initial PR to all venues, post to events in all newspapers and magazines. Contact the TV and radio stations and alert them. Week 2, send out an email campaign to all mails. If you don't have something like this, chances are it'll slip through the cracks and it won't get out, and your attendance will be reduced, or then maybe you won't even do the workshop, and that's happened to me. So learning from my experience, these are the kinds of things, and be more detailed than this is, but this is going to give you an idea of what I think is important when you're doing a campaign.
And just as a note there, I'm going to do this myself soon, is go into an Excel spreadsheet, put the, headings across the top and the weeks down the left, and then, put in specific dates, right, related to each.
Absolutely. And you know what? If you've got magazines, if you're going to advertise, which you probably won't, which costs money, but if you were, you could put in how much you're going to spend on your advertising, or how much you're going to spend on your flyers that you're going to mail out. What does it cost to mail out a flyer? Who's going to create it? What's it going to cost to create it? Are you going to do it yourself? You're going to hire somebody. You want to get your budget in there too, because typically in a communication plan, you have all of that.
Well, even if it's just your graphic designer costs. But James, also just coming back to your one this past spring in Arizona, in reflection, what would you say was the most effective strategy that garnered you, the most response or registrants? You
are so right on target. I'm going to get right into that.
Okay. I have a habit of doing that. Sorry.
That's good. No, I like that. I think this is very helpful. So again, define your program. What will it be? Is it going to be a wellness program that combines wellness with stress? My associate in South Africa did a program where she combined the wellness with stress management. What will be included? What do you want to accomplish? What are your learner objectives? And I can help you with this, because if you want learner objectives, I've got some documents on that. Will you have a lecture, small group exercises? What are you going to do? Meditation, mindfulness? What are you going to include? And I know more, you've got some great ideas on what you like to do. I'm not a big fan of some of the using of exercises, but whatever it is, make it your own. So let's get marketing. To answer your question, one of the best things you can do is get a sponsor or a partner. So this takes community relations, but if you are familiar with hospitals and healthcare organizations, wellness councils in your state, nonprofit organizations, for example, the American Heart Association in Phoenix has a phenomenal facility, state of the art. And if I had known about it, I'd have gone to them. But we went to, and I'll show you in a minute, we went to the United Healthcare, not United Healthcare, Tucson Medical Center. And we linked up with them. But if you go to the American Heart Association, stress is very key in heart issues. Wellness centers, yoga and meditation centers, insurance companies, and other businesses. So what a sponsor does is gives you credibility, gives you community awareness. And you want to find a sponsor that would really be a good support to you. We chose the Wellness Council of Arizona, and Tucson Medical Center, and Honor Health. They have brands. You may not have the brand that they have, but linking up with them opens doors. They may provide a conference room for you, which they did. Honor Health provided a conference room. TMC provided a conference room, for which we gave them 2 or 3 free people to attend. Didn't cost us anything. They have employees who could attend, and they'll also pay for it. They can help you build your brand by co-branding with you. So when you go to another company and you'll see the flyer again, if you've got Honor Health on there, which is huge here in Arizona, they go, oh, that's pretty neat. Who are these people? Because many people don't know who you are. And they make you look bigger and more credible than maybe we are. And we want to look more powerful. So to answer your question, the Wellness Council of Arizona and the branding were the key things for us. And you can do it without it, but I recommend that you.
So can I just ask you another question as an offshoot of that? So with your involvement with Wellness Council of Arizona, other than showing their brand and maybe, any office convention or conference space they might have given you, was there anything else? Did they provide any other kind of marketing support to their email lists? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Wellness Council of Arizona sent out all kinds of emails to their base.
So what was it?
Honor Health and TMC sent it out to all of their employees. And we created the email blast and sent it to them, and we tailored it to whether it was Tucson or Phoenix. So
what else was in it for them then, other than the brand exposure and stuff?
What's in it for them is that they are community minded, and they want to be part of something that's positive and health oriented. Mm-hmm. So there are many benefits. The Wellness Council of Arizona is a natural for it, and there are many wellness councils around the country. Right now, we're talking with people in Nebraska, Wacoa.
Okay.
Not the Wellness Council of America, but
right.
It's another one. So,
do they ever want part of your, your fees?
No.
They don't look for cost share fees. Okay.
Now down in Tucson, for example, there's a guy by the name of Jim Click, who owns about 15 automobile dealerships. He's on the board of directors of the Wellness Council of Arizona. He was one of the founding members. So here's a company that is extremely wellness-minded. If you know of companies that are wellness-minded, you go to them and you say, we want to partner with you to do some workshops on wellness and stress. Mm-hmm. So,
actually, and Melody, just while we're talking about options here, Melody made a good point, which you may not have seen yet. She said, what about doing a special introductory workshop just for HR people in your city?
Go ahead. No,
yeah, anyway, I was just reading out what Melody had stated. She said, what about doing a special intro workshop for just HR people in your city and introduce them to stress mastery at the detail, yeah, that could be another.
You're right on target there. My contact and my associate in Nigeria and in South Africa just last month did exactly that. What she did was she got a hotel and she set it up, and she invited the HR directors to come in for a couple hours, and they talked about stress in the workplace. It was part of that. So it wasn't just a pitch on, oh, here we are, we're going to tell you all about stress mastery and the stress management questionnaire. It was, let's come together and maybe have some roundtable discussions about how stress is affecting you and your employees. And we'll tell you a little bit about what we do. And we'll also tell you about some workshops we're going to be doing. And they brought them in, give them coffee and tea and some cookies and whatever. And it worked out really well. She had 30 people at her last workshop.
Yeah, and because I work in the virtual world more so than in the worksite world right now, I'm thinking too, you could do a webinar just for HR people, and it could be more global based and work that angle as well.
Right, absolutely.
James, I don't want to ignore Priscilla, just while I have you too. Sorry, she had a quick question, and it's a little bit off related, but still related. She asked, can you create a training program that walks us through the stress mastery program? So that would be a little something for down the road. And I know myself, and I think others would be like to have something like that.
I have that on my agenda after this webinar. My plan is maybe by the first week in November, I can take you through a half-day workshop that we did, and it has all the slides and all the information, and I can share with you what we would do, and then I think you could integrate that into what you want to add to it or not. So you want to tailor whatever we suggest or I suggest to your own needs. And Priscilla, I know you work in the wellness and health industry in Nigeria. I would love to find a way to get something in the beauty industry and the health club industry. And I can tell you this right now, in another country, which I can't tell you about yet, but we're talking about taking Stress Master and some other programs into dozens and hundreds of wellness facilities, health clubs, because there's a need there for these companies to provide more than what they're doing, and they also see the need to help their people. So,
right. And then, yeah, on the note with just the half-day workshop, is that something that's provided as part of, at no charge or no fee?
Absolutely. Now, my goal is to provide the support to you. Now, we do charge for any specific labor we do on things, but
right.
The materials we've got, if I can provide that to you, if you need help, we're here to help you, and I'm here to help you.
Yeah. And then my last question or comment would be then along that lines is if just knowing, because I've worked a lot in the virtual world from a trainer, as opposed to a half a day, would it be there for you to maybe do 2-hour sessions?
There again, that's a different model, and I like that model.
Because you get saturated after 2 hours and you just don't learn anymore?
Well, yeah, and all-day workshops are really tough. I think there's a place for them, but I think the 2-hour over 4 weeks for 8 hours. We know that behavioral change is very difficult, and so you do want to bring exercises in between the sessions so they can go back and work on.
Yes, sorry, I guess I just to clarify, but I do like your thought, and I want to keep on with that. I was referring to the training for our trainers of the ambassadors or your group.
Oh, okay.
Of the 4 hour or however long. Yeah, I don't know if you were intending to do a training session with us for 4 hours.
I wanted a different direction. Thanks for bringing me back. No, we can certainly do that in a 2 hour, 1.5 hour, whatever works, and go over it. We could take each module, let's say, and go through 3 or 4 modules.
Yeah, I would. I'd really like to see a date set up for that, and not to get too far down that rabbit hole. But if that works for you, somewhere in November, that would be great.
Works for me.
Okay.
So who's going to present? And as I just indicated, I like to have joint presenters. I don't like to be the only one up there. I like to bring in fresh ideas. So I recommend that you have you and 1 or 2 other people. And if you are going to do some examples of stress reduction exercises like meditation and mindfulness, do you want to do it yourself, or do you want to bring in somebody that might be even a little better than you are? It's kind of nice. I brought in a woman who has written a book on what's it called? Am I hungry? It's on weight, and she wrote this book, and she lives here in Arizona. I contacted her. I said, "Would you like to do 45 minutes on stress and weight loss?" And she said, "Absolutely." So she came in and she brought her books, and she sold. I think we had 35 people there. She sold about 20 books. So I said, and that was her compensation. But anyway, if you bring people in and you want to do examples, because I like to tell people, we have to be able to reduce our stress, but we also have to be able to prevent stress from reoccurring, which is a mental issue and how we change how we think about the world. So I tend to bring in people. I don't do yoga very much. I've done meditation. I do a lot of autogenics. So I do what I do, and I bring people in. We have a Tai Chi master here in Phoenix who's unbelievable. Great guy. And bring him in. I've got a video on him that I shared with you guys. So who is going to do it? Where will you do it? I'm going to move through this because this is pretty obvious. You got to choose where you want to go and make that decision. Establish a target market. Are you vertical or broad-based? Companies you know and can approach. Companies with a wellness focus. And these are not mutually exclusive. Government agencies, city, state, and feds. If you have any contact with government facilities, and this is a big area, we sold, 1,000 SMQs to the Army in Germany. Well, who would have thought? They'll buy. And now it's very difficult if you're not familiar with the government purchase process or RFPs or doing proposals. It can be a bit of a challenge. It took me 9 months to get paid, not because they didn't want to pay me, but because of the system that I had to go through to figure out how to be part of this worldwide thing that they've got. But now, once I've got that under my belt, it's a piece of cake. So if you're going to go in that direction, it's really worthwhile to learn the system, get a SAMS number, so forth. And if anybody wants to talk about that, I could give you all the details of what you need to do. Nonprofit organizations, I've done stress management programs for the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Save the Children Federation, National Federation of Settlements. At the national level, they look for things like this. They want programs like this. If you've got any contacts with nonprofit organizations, approach them, see what they say. Religious groups, as you know, we have a church ministry version of the SMQ, and it's been started in Canada, and it's now down in Florida and other places. So if you're going to be doing church groups, be sure to talk to me.
James, can I throw out one other suggestion there too?
Sure.
My husband, I got a safety background in the workplace, and so I'm bringing him on board as an associate pretty soon. And so the reason I mention that is we're looking into strategizing on probably in the next year or so to go out to employers and to integrate stress mastery in with occupational health and safety.
Perfect.
And show how when you're stressed, it leads to further, things like, accidents on the workplace and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to speak to the safety and I'll speak to the stress mastery and sort of do a tag team husband and wife approach.
That's a nice idea.
Yeah. And the reason I say that, and I think it's really good and viable too, is because sometimes, especially here in Canada, a lot of the wellness falls under the occupational health and safety. So you can tap into their budget quicker than you can other HR training budgets sometimes.
That's true. And you'd be surprised when the budget cycle comes to the end of the year. For example, I did a workshop 3 or 4 years ago for a large school district, and it was the end of the year, and they wanted to do something and got a hold of me, and we did 50 people back to back, 2 days in 2 half-day programs, and it was successful, and they had the money. I mean, they wanted to spend it.
And from a target market, because just talked on that, have you ever worked exclusively, because another area I want to focus on is the executive level, and have you ever worked exclusively with this in the executive level?
Well, in my early career, I still am a management consultant in organizational development, so the answer is yes. I've worked with many companies with the senior level people, and I think that's a very excellent way to go if you got an avenue into that. Back to the stop and nothing people, that's what they do. They work with highest level, and their programs are extremely expensive. But they're doing 4 or 5 days of work with people. You don't have to do 4 or 5 days, but that's a very good group. And it's a lonely group because the people at the top often it's hard for them to reach out to those around them for help when they need it. And many of them need a lot of help.
Yeah.
They're stressed out beyond belief.
And because the margins are there, I was just going to say, because the margins are there at that level, again, with it from a price point, I would suggest to, my group or all your group here present, maybe to partner up at least a couple people to take on that level. So you got that support.
Yep. So you need to know what you're comfortable with. And if you're comfortable with the C level, absolutely go for it. You might want to work your way up to it. But you got to decide when you're doing the workshops, where are you going to go? Who are you going to talk to? And of course, you want to go to the people that make decisions. And HR doesn't make decisions an awful lot. A good example, I'll use Banamex again. Banamex is owned by Citicorp. But guess who pays the bill? Citicorp out of New York, not out of Mexico. And so if they want to buy something, you can go to them, but they've got to go up and get approval. So identify your key decision makers, know who they are, and go after them. And I'll go back to this one. Government officials. We have a thing called the Joint Legislative Budget Committee here in Arizona. And as I mentioned to you before, I have a huge background in assessment and evaluation. And even though we were doing stress mastery programs, we were also doing program evaluations. So I got wind of a proposal at the Joint Legislative Budget Committee, which is between the House and Senate here in Arizona and the governor. And they were looking to evaluate the mental health system in the state of Arizona. I walked in there. I said, I'm interested in learning about it. And he said, well, we didn't think anybody in Arizona could do this. And I said, well, here's what we do. I walked out in about 3 weeks with a $79,000 contract. And that was 20 years ago. You never know where the money is. You just got to go out and kind of be there. So government officials, they're important. So then you want to do the influencers, the gatekeepers. These are important because they can open doors for you. So when you're putting your plan together, and I know we're running through a lot of material right now, and this will be available, you still need to think about who the decision makers are, where you want to be, and who's going to help get you to those. And every one of these is important. And then you make lists. And who do you want to invite to be there? Are you going to focus on managers, supervisors, line staff, customer service, sales, anyone who is feeling stress? When we did our workshop, we did not discriminate between one level or another. And we did get a mixture of people, but stress is stress. Now, you're going to run into situations where you have people who are in the same organization, and you might have a supervisor, manager, and a line staff, and that becomes a challenge at times. But it also can become a great opportunity to help them work through some issues that they may be having. How are you going to get there? You're going to use the good old-fashioned way, the phone in person, get introduced, walk in, say hi, network, trade shows. The best thing you can do is try to meet people one-on-one or get on the phone. Use the indirect message, websites. Make sure your website is really top-notch. And that's something that I want to work on for you all coming down the line, because I've talked to my son about creating a template that might be of value to all of you. Are you going to do email marketing? I mentioned before we use FireDrum, but there's a ton of them out there. If you do email marketing, you got to do it right. Get your collateral materials together, brochures, flyers. Do you have them? This is a shopping list of things that need to be done, but all of these lead to success. Do you have a strong LinkedIn presence? Get invited to a meeting, do press releases, run ads in the local business paper. Are you involved in your community? This is another reason why many people are not successful at doing workshops, is because nobody knows about them. So my background has been one of early on. I was involved in 3 Leads clubs in Tucson. I started a Rotary Club with some guys in Tucson. We were the first Rotary Club in America to bring in women. So be involved. Go to SCORE meetings. In America, we have SCORE. If you haven't been to SCORE, go to some of their meetings. Talk to these people. They have great ideas, and they may be able to help you. Participate in Leads clubs. Join a group. Speak at Rotaries. The Rotary is a great club. And because Rotary, you can only get into Rotary if you're a decision maker, typically. They're a good group to be, and do a 15, 20-minute dog and pony show. Join ATD or SHRM. These are training and development worldwide. They have conferences and programs. If you're going to sell to trainers, you ought to be in one of these 2 groups. Become a Toastmaster. Learn how to do presentations. Get active on LinkedIn and join some of the chambers of commerce or convention. You can't do all of these. You have to choose that what you want to choose. Now, this is a little landing page we created. You can find it. So we talked about before about how do you create a landing page for when somebody wants to buy. This tells a little bit about what we're going to teach them. There are links in here that will take them to more information. It gives who will benefit, what the participants will learn, and you talk about learner objectives. When you do a program, as you well know, you want to have learner objectives, and what the program will entail, who the facilitators are. There we are. We had 3. Who we are. The call to action, very strong. Register early, space is limited. Set your price point. We said 85, it was 95, and then 85 if you got in early, and it was 95 after, or I think it was 95 after just 30 days prior. Get your PayPal account. So when you want to go to your PayPal, you click the cart. You can choose how many people you want to have attend. Bingo, done. They pay for it, it's done. Put some testimonials in. Who are our sponsors? So all of this is the landing page that creates the sale that you want. Again, this is an email piece that we put together. Doesn't look good here, but here you have Honor Health, you have the Wellness Council, you have Stress Master. So this tells what they're going to learn, what their experience, and register early. We've already talked about that, how to build it. I'm going to show you this. When I go to LinkedIn and I meet people, and if somebody communicates with me, I put them in a database. I indicate whether they're a corporation, an organization, an individual, PR firm, or if it's educational. I put in their email, the first and last name, the company name, what their position is, what city they're in, what state it is, and there's more data over here. This database is invaluable because now you have something you can go back to over and over and over again. And so I highly recommend that you do this. And the way I do it on LinkedIn is you've got to be very careful that you don't just put it another way. When you communicate with somebody that you want to touch base with and maybe have on your list, write them a personal note. It takes a little bit of time, but it's really very helpful to be able to do that. So what I do, if I'm going to look for HR.
This is one of the things we went into last night, actually, for my group. They're quite familiar with this now, which is good to have a repeat.
Yeah. Well, here you have HR Tucson. Look at this. She's a member. She's on my list. She's on my list. I don't have her. She's on my list. I could connect with her. So if I'm going to connect with her, it's already sent in. Or I might go to her. I might go to see who she's all about. What does she do? She's with the school district. I used to work. My wife worked with Tucson Unified School District, and if I wanted to go there, I would definitely contact her. So if I connect with her, I might go to say I was a colleague, choose my company, and I'd say something like, "Dear Catherine, I looked at your profile, and I'd like to add you to my professional network," or say whatever you want, and then you send the invitation. If you do this willy-nilly, you might get slammed by LinkedIn, and they'll say you don't know these people. Why are you doing that?
Just James, you may know this too, but within the contact list, there's a CSV that list you can download that will give you all your contacts and their emails.
Now I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I gotta learn that.
Yeah, and it's there. I'm not sure where you might have to hunt and peck or ask me, and I can get it to you. But the only caveat you have to be really, really careful there. Okay, is that because of the information laws and all that out there, and FOIP and that, I don't know what you call it down there. But you have to. You can really only put people in your email list who've subscribed and opted into an email list.
Right.
And so if you can't send out, say, en masse to that group because you'd be in trouble real quick. But you could at least set up a database with that CSV as you've done, and then tick off that, but go in through LinkedIn to connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go send off a random email with your, your Outlook account or whatever, they're going to say, well, how did you get my email? But if you go through LinkedIn, they're going to say, oh, you're a LinkedIn connection,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you another thing that's really good. If you read the newspaper in your area or magazine and somebody has written an article on wellness or health or stress, copy the name, go to LinkedIn, find the person, say, I saw your article, I'd like to connect with you, and then can we have a conversation? So, wonderful way to go.
Yeah.
So you got to have flyers when you're doing marketing, of course. A couple of flyers we created. How to master workplace stress. Here's why you should attend. Here's when it's going to happen. And click here for more info. That click here for more info goes to a PDF, which also has a link to buy the seminar or workshop. So you want to have the PDF embedded with a link. You have another PDF. So this could be a PDF, and this would take them on, because a lot of people don't want to look and read long PDFs. You can make it very brief and give them a teaser.
James, are you comfortable in sharing those templates with us?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. I do believe in networking. I mentioned it before. We won't hit these too much anymore, but get involved. Now, how do you contact the HR departments? Call them up. Ask for a meeting. Why not? I'd like to tell you about what we're doing in the field of stress mastery and wellness. Can we sit down for a few minutes? I can share with you what we're doing. Send them a letter, postcard, or flyer. Ask for a lead person's email. Offer a seminar or workshop on workplace stress. Keep a list of hot leads. This is really important. One thing I've learned in sales, when you have a hot lead, never forget it. You put that on a spreadsheet, and I call them golden eggs. I actually created a program called Sales Coach, where I would coach people in sales. And these are people like insurance salesmen and so forth. And I learned from them that they would run around, they cut all these cards, and they touch base with people, but they had no system. So I said, all right, let's take your top 10%, and we'll call them golden eggs. And then you have the next 20%, and the rest are just the third tier. If you do that, you will not forget them when they say, well, don't talk to me now, call me in 3 months. So make that a real priority to keep a list. Offer a lunch and learn. It's kind of a weak approach, but gets you in the door. I don't know how you feel about lunch and learns, Lisa.
Actually, just a really quick point on that. One of our gals, Ruby, who she shared this openly in our group, so I don't think she'd mind me sharing her. But anyway, she uses Lunch and Learns as a gateway to get into companies.
Uh-huh.
And on the follow-up note, she has a policy that she calls follow-up Fridays. So Fridays, she goes in and follows up with people like you're talking about that she hasn't spoken to for a while. Another tip she does is at the end of her workshops and Lunch and Learns, she'll do a little quick, not a random, but a little quick one-page questionnaire on what their other needs and interests are. And she takes that feedback and sends it, redirects it back to HR. And that has gotten her in to do additional workshops with them. That's
a great idea. And piggyback on that, one of the most successful consulting firms in the world does, they do assessments for free. And they'll go into a company and say, we will do an evaluation of your company, and I forget what areas. And then they come back with, it's kind of like a needs assessment. They come back with all the things that they want to do and that need to do. And then they said, well, we have programs that can address those needs.
Right.
So you can use quizzes, or you can go to SurveyMonkey, and you could say, create a survey for all the HR departments in the area and say, we're surveying you on stress in your company here. We'd like to share this with you. Can we send this to your people and get you some feedback? I mean, you can do a lot of creative things along that line. Mm-hmm. Best practices, do your research. Know the company and who the decision makers are. Target the highest ranking person. Companies with wellness programs. Ask questions a lot to discover hot areas. Don't sell benefits. And you had this going on the other day, which is so true. We tend to talk about our programs, but not the benefits. What will you do to solve a problem? Well, you first need to know that you got a problem, and then you need to tell them that you can provide a solution. Now, the SMQ will help your employees to be more productive, healthier, and stay longer. In effect, save your company money. You got to give them a hook that's going to make them stand up and say, hey, I need you. And again, I learned this lesson from a situation years ago when I went into pitch a company on some management consulting. And I went in, I actually knew the guy. It was a large insurance company. And we sat down, we were on the conference table. We talked for quite a while. And I said, what do you think? He said, well, Jim, he says, I like everything you're saying, but you're not making me uncomfortable. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, I just don't feel the need. I missed selling that person because I didn't really help him see the need. So you got to kind of work on that if you can to make sure that they see the need and you fit it. Now, if they already know the need is there, they're already into wellness, then you don't have as much of an uphill climb.
Yeah, or like what keeps them up at night, their pain points, right?
Absolutely. Well, this is kind of the seminar workshop that I wanted to do today. I hope you receive some information that will be valuable to you. If there are any chats that you have, Lisa, that questions you have, I'm happy to take a look at those. Anybody?
Okay, let me just go through. I think most of which we've offered. Sue had mentioned that she uses Eventbrite to as a forum for inviting people to events.
Good.
And I've never used it, but I've seen other people do it. So, and I think there's definitely interest in, as I mentioned earlier, in maybe 2-hour training sessions to really further get into, because I sense, and I have to be honest, I'm pretty guilty of this myself. I haven't worked through the material because I've been so busy with the ambassador program, but I really need to get more up to speed and get intimately knowledgeable about the SMQ material and stuff. So anyway, Absolutely. I guess long story short.
That's a really good point, and perhaps it's been I've worked so often with people who are perhaps very experienced trainers who don't need a lot of help, but there are many people that are associates who are not in that category yet and want to be, and need the help. So I will do what I can to provide that information, and also let you know that there's many ways to do a stress mastery program. So what I present to you is something will be a template, but you should think about how it works for you and what you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, and if we have, much like today, we have a bit of interaction, which I'm sure we would in your, the 1 or 2 training sessions, we can talk about different delivery models, right? And much along the lines of what we do in our ambassador program, but certainly from a stress mastery perspective. And whether it's online, on site, half day, full day, as we talked about the HR or things that get you, free options to get you in the door and get you exposed. So let me just go through. Yeah, so I think definitely people expressed interest in additional training in stress mastery. And let me just.
I should say to the group also, and you know this by knowing me by now, I'm here for you. I don't overly push to get into your business because that's not my role. But I am here to help you if you have a need. And please understand, we all have needs, and I need help from other people sometimes. And if you need to say, hey, Jim, I want to talk about how to do something, set up a Zoom meeting, and we can work through that. I'm very busy, and I've been overloaded with things to do, but I'll make time for you whenever I can.
Yeah, and I always like doing a group thing because A, you can cover off a lot more people quickly, and B, you get a synergy that happens, right, with all the idea sharing and stuff.
Absolutely.
As we, hopefully doing here today as well, which has just really been valuable. And, for me, it's not necessarily new stuff because I have a business degree in marketing, about my first degree. However, there's things we forget about and we need to be reminded of, right?
Trust me, I'm very familiar with that, and I've learned that the older you get, the less you know. So and
you have to exercise this stuff and put it, so it doesn't go cold storage. And, the other thing I wanted to add, which I've said earlier, just to re-emphasize, is that I really encourage, because I think both Sue maybe still on, but, and Sue, that is not to exclude you either, but, for our ambassadors, say, to partner up, especially just to get yourself, your feet wet and cut your teeth in this. And I really encourage you, especially when you're doing webinar-based or virtual stuff, right? It might be difficult if you're, trying to do something on site and you're in different cities, but certainly from a virtual, that may be, or even just to co-host an information webinar on stress mastery and put that out there. But really have some very specific, strong selling points as to why they'd want to sign up to your webinar.
Well, and I think, Lisa, what I'd like to do with you too, and anyone else, is that we can have a dialogue on how to best integrate what we do in stress mastery with what you do, and
for sure,
it's so nice. So we're going to close off this webinar, and I hope everybody send me emails or let me know what you think and what you need, and we will go from there. And I'll set up I'm looking at my schedule, maybe 2 or 3 2-hour programs or an hour-and-a-half programs on designing and conducting the stress management or stress mastery program. And I also look for people who are doing programs that have done them, step up and say, hey, here's another way to kind of do it. But
no, this has really been helpful, and I appreciate it. And we'll have the recording that you're going to send out the recording to your group or to your email group.
I will. Okay.
Yeah, and the slides, I assume, as well. And if it's there for you if you got them ready, to send out some templates for sales pages, because I know a number of my ambassadors are actually working on their websites right now.
Okay.
So that might, give them some tools to work with and set up their own sales page.
Okay. I will do that when we have that ready, and we'll get the materials out. Thank you all for attending. We've had 19 great people, and I wish we could be talking one-on-one with all of you. And Lisa, I really appreciate your co-presenting with me, because it makes it so much better.
When you're a presenter, it's hard to keep your mouth quiet.
Well, it's better because when you get into this mode of just throwing out information, it gets pretty boring. So,
well, it makes it a little more dynamic, for sure.
Thank you all very much. We're going to say sayonara. And have
all right. Thanks, James. Appreciate it. Take care, everyone. Bye.